Kia ora, hello, I'm Philip Duncan. Thanks for joining us for our Tuesday update for Halloween, October the 31st. And we've got this large low still looming over the upper North Island, but in 24 hours it's completely gone and a new low will come in and replace it, or at least on the western side of New Zealand. So this is the low I'm talking about that's falling apart. And out here you can see the beginning of a new low pressure system that's going to come into the Tasman and sit there for a couple of days before it finally does also fall apart and bring in a southwest change. So over across in Australia, they've just had that southwest change. It's moved to southerly up here, few downpours which are in the mix, which is some good news with the fires that are burning out of control now, especially in Queensland, and we will talk about that in a moment. And the last feature with this low, the colder easterly wind that some parts of the North Island in particular have been having, should start to ease over the next 24 hours. Let's take a look at rainfall, and we're still seeing most of the rain up here around East Cape, probably only about 20 to 40 millimetres to come through, but some areas just up in the hills may still go a little bit higher than that. So just be aware there's still a little bit more heavy rain to come through over the next day or so. Elsewhere, it's drying out. The rain totals are starting to drop. Over in Australia, it's not so much rain, it's the heat. Over 40 degrees today. This is for 8 o'clock this evening. Over in Australia, Western time, and pretty hot right over from Western Australia, Northern Territories and inland parts of Queensland. All right, let's get into the forecast for Wednesday. And we talked about the southerly flow up along the eastern side of Australia. You can see a few showers there, but it's forming this new low. So the other low that we were talking about, that's the last part of it there at lunchtime. By 3 p.m, it's completely gone. So that is it, falling apart. That's the last gasp of showers in that area. And now a westerly flow returning to the top of the country. Still got a bit of a nor'easter coming down here though for other areas. And in Australia, at least in the southeastern corner, it's a little bit colder following that southerly change. Going through to Thursday, and in comes a cold front. It's a pretty weak one. This low, not very energetic, not as big and as nasty as the one we've just had in the north. But it does drive in a little front there and some rain for the west coast. Fairly dry for Australia on Thursday. Now here we are on Friday. Now this is where we've put in the current bushfires because we've got a bit of good news on Friday. The blue that you see here across inland parts of New South Wales and Queensland showing the chance of some good thunderstorms and some big downpours. Now obviously thunderstorms can spark fires, but I think for the most part this will be very good news, getting some big downpours. Every red dot is a fire that has been burning in the last 6 hours. So there's a lot burning around Queensland at the moment in particular. So some downpours there for you. Now on the New Zealand side, don't have to worry about fires at the moment. Plenty more rain still coming through. But the good news is this might be the end of it for a while because behind this system there's a big high, and that could be just calming down our weather a little bit in New Zealand. Still getting some showers, but just not anything big and tropical like we've just seen. So a burst of rain and showers on Friday. That's because that next low falls apart on Friday as it crosses over New Zealand, and it's gone by Saturday. So Saturday, returning in Southland and Otago and Fiordland, the sou'wester with a few showers, maybe a bit of snow on the mountains, not low down, but on the mountaintops. It's a sign of a cooler change coming in, westerlies for the top of New Zealand, and more downpours coming in for New South Wales, especially inland areas as well. Warmer than average sea conditions along the eastern side here could be your friend this summer. It brings in a few more sharks as well, but it also brings in the chance of rain and downpours and thunderstorms. And considering how dry it is with El Nino, that is some good news. And we go through to Sunday, we've still got more of those downpours in eastern Australia. So this is some good news for you. And in the New Zealand side, fewer of those downpours, which is good for us. But there are a few bubbling up here. So as we go through Sunday afternoon, there'll be a few downpours that bubble up along the mountains and ranges of New Zealand and along the eastern seaboard of Australia, from Brisbane all the way down to Victoria. You'll be seeing these downpours bubbling up. And some eastern areas, it may not be a big downpour. It may just be some showers coming off the sea. So not everyone has the big heavy stuff, but it just shows you it's a bit unsettled. And I think although the timing being weekend doesn't usually suit townies and city people, it is good for farmers and growers to be seeing that. And our final map on Monday shows high pressure pushing into New Zealand, a few afternoon downpours, mostly inland, around the hills and ranges inland, but fairly dry around New Zealand on Monday. And for Australia, while it's mostly dry in many places, we do see around Esperance, you get some showers there, and also more wet weather along the eastern side. So plenty going on, but for New Zealand, after what has been a rough October, November looks like it might just be a notch down on the wind and the rain, but we're still not finished with spring. It carries on, spring weather for another couple of months, really. I mean, December is the month where it usually does fade away, but sometimes it can be a little earlier. Other years it can go right up to New Year's Eve. So fingers crossed this year we can get spring weather over and done with by, I don't know, how about December? That's all from me. Don't forget our 7-day Pacific Island forecast is out today, covering what is going on in the South Pacific, but also the Northern Hemisphere too, taking a look, especially around Hawaii. That video coming out later on today.